Dillon Gabriel thinks he's about that life, and I'm here to tell you, buddy, you're not. Roll us.
Right.
Welcome into At the Office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Erik, and I'm joined by my co host, Noah. You can join us at the office as well. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, or X, or you can call or text the show 216 260 3433. That's 216 260 3433. Noah, a lot to cover after that Browns preseason matchup against the Eagles. We'll get into that, but first, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. They have decided to just bombard us with news. And I know I like to hear what's going on with your day and all of that, but I also just want to talk about all of the crap going on with the Cleveland Browns right now because there's so much stuff going on, whether it be the preseason game and Dillon Gabriel, whether it be Shador Sanders and a depth chart again, whether it be some signings, some legal cases, some starting quarterbacks, not only for the Browns, for the Buckeyes as well. We got a loaded show and a show we like to try to keep around 30, 40 minutes, man.
Yeah, we will get to literally all of that. But first, At the Office is sponsored by D&D Meadery, makers of the finest mead in Northeast Ohio. Twin brothers Derek and Dominic, they turn their German winemaking roots into liquid gold. It's centuries of tradition bottled for you. It's not just mead, it's history reborn. And trust me, this award-winning honey wine that I have right here, this stuff's the real deal. We've gone through so many bottles of it, it's not even funny. Here's the best part, though. If you use our code that you can see on screen there, at dash the dash office CLE, use that code when you order and you'll get an extra 5% off your order. And if you order 2 or more bottles, you'll get this free shot glass.
That
Noah,
is
tell them
not
about the shot glass.
dishwasher safe. Don't put it in the dishwasher or else you'll be lost without your shot glass like I am.
Indeed. So order 2 or more, you'll get that free shot glass. Visit dndmeadery.org. You can order right there online using our code, or if for some reason you don't want to save money, you can find a retail location near you where you can purchase as well. Must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. Noah, the Cleveland Browns played the Philadelphia Eagles in the second preseason game of 2025, and I think we both have notes. I want to jump right in, but first things first, just give me your takes. What did you think overall?
Overall, without getting into minuscule players and whatnot, I know we're going to talk at length about Dillon Gabriel and some of the other guys on this roster. The main thing that I can think of right now is it was another well coached game by Kevin Stefanski and co. They went out there, they handled their business, they had a great first script, they continue to play well within the means of the offense. Some of the things that we didn't get to see last year, and overall, everything I saw was encouraging in the overall blanket statement version of this take. What about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with your take here. I got to tell you, top to bottom, this team is looking better than a lot of people give them credit for. I know I've been tooting that horn for months now, and nobody's really believed me, but just looking at the joint practices that they had with the Eagles, they talked about our defensive front. They said Miles was getting to the quarterback like on every play. I'm really excited for this defense. I know people are still a little weary after what was it, 3 wins last year.
Right.
Um, but I'm feeling pretty positive, and as you said, everything in game looked pretty good to me. I do want to jump in and talk specifics, especially Gabriel, because you and I differ a little bit on one of the things dealing with him. But overall, I thought he had a pretty good game, good showing by Dillon Gabriel. Obviously, he had some issues. He had a pick, that lost fumble, but he made some good reads like Shador. He put some balls into the tight spots and right spots. Things that, if you look around the league at what other rookies are doing, I got to say, our 2 guys look pretty damn good. I don't know.
You know, you're missing one spot for me as well, and that is how well he was doing on third down. He was, let me pull up the stat here real quick, a perfect 6 for 6, 52 yards in those third down high pressure situations. That I know just the type of coach and the type of offense Kevin Stefanski likes to run. He was all over that all day, 7 days a week, despite some of the lowlights that were there.
The things that I like to see, I mean, he looked like he had pretty good pocket presence. He moved up into the pocket. He felt comfortable there. He got the ball out fairly quick too. Um, I know this is it's Kevin Stefanski's offense, but it's also an offense that's pared down pretty well for the rookies so that they can learn it easily. But guys were open, and we're not just talking a bunch of slant plays or things like that.
Right.
Um, he had good anticipation. Obviously, we talked about the pick. That's going to happen. I mean, I'm not too concerned about that. But what I was starting to say, real quick,
Well, the pick to me actually bothers me a little bit more
all right, go on.
than the typical one. That kind of thing happens. We had a busted play, and instead of the quarterback throwing it away, I'm going to pull it up here, the lowlights, real quick. Instead of the quarterback throwing it away, he tries to throw it into whatever window of two receivers being in the same exact spot and throws a pick six. I know a lot of people blame Deontay Johnson on that
I was
play
going to
for
say
kind of
he didn't help him out. That's for sure.
that's fantastic. But when you're this computer wizard or whatever the hell we've been calling him the last 3 weeks because they love him so much, then you should know to just get the ball not in play in that situation, in my opinion. That
Computer
is a
wizard?
you haven't heard that? They've been calling him the computer wizard. It's more so, I think, some of the Shador fan base, the Colorado fan base that are making fun of him when they say that, but it's picked up in local media for sure. You haven't heard it?
No, I guess not. Speaking of, though, that's a pretty good transition to talk just for a minute because Dillon Gabriel had some interesting words on the sideline after he was out.
You gave us some fabulous wisdom on how you tune out the noise and you don't let it infiltrate yourself. Will you share that with everybody at home?
Yeah, I think it's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this mid-game, but it's something that I'll get used to, and just want to be the best team that I can and create an environment where we can all go do our best work. That's all we want to do.
So he has that quote, and instantly people jumped on it that he was throwing shade to Shador Sanders there. He did clarify post game that he was not, in fact, throwing shade at all. But the fan base is still split. Noah, I know your take, but tell me what you think here.
Yeah, I think when you get the full context, and even just with that clip that just ran of him talking about blocking out the noise, for example, you could tell he's talking about the media, in my opinion, there. I know we're doing the thing and we're running with it because Shador's an entertainer and he's famous on social media and him in prime time and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'm a Shador Sanders guy. I want him to be our quarterback. I wanted him in the first round. I wanted him in the second, third, fourth, all the way up until we took him in the fifth. But this has nothing to do with him. It was a quote that coaches used in locker rooms. His Oregon coach used it before in
When,
national TV.
before which game?
He wasn't there. I know. It was Justin
Colorado.
Gilbert. Was it really?
According to what's going around on the internet, and I have not fact checked this, the Oregon coach said it prior to a game against Colorado, which just it feeds into that a little bit. I know that he was talking about the media, most
But
likely.
when that quote came out too, it was when Justin Herbert was the quarterback and Dillon Gabriel wasn't even there. What I'm saying, Eric, is there's idioms that coaches have all the time, especially in football. And this could be just an idiom he's heard throughout his time at all three schools he played with in college. And he's thinking of it, talking about the media being the bad guy versus the players who are just out there trying to compete. I think this is a non-story. It seems like you don't, though.
No, it's not that I don't. I tend to agree with you. My rational side tends to agree with you. If it's true that the Oregon coach said that prior to playing Colorado, talking about Colorado, even in the broader sense of it being related to media and media craziness, because there was a lot of that with Colorado, it's not a good look to repeat those words, whether you meant it a certain way or not. Saying that out loud, you and I both saw it and we thought of Shador immediately, did you not? Whether he meant it that way or not,
I didn't. I
it
thought
could
of
be
it like
taken as a shot.
Aditi Kikobala said,
Good
I
job.
didn't have, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's a tough
I
one.
said, It is a tough one. I said right after he made that comment, like, oh, I just took a shot at my own interview and laughed it off and continued. If you listen to what him and her, they were both saying, I know some of us may have been tuned out at that point because it was Snoop Huntley minutes and there's only so much we're going to get out of film
Yeah, for sure.
breakdown with Snoop Huntley minutes. I was watching because I will eat up every single minute of football that I get to see.
It was on in the
But
background for me
I'm
at that
aware.
point.
But to me, this doesn't. It feels like one of those things you do when you want to try to create drama and create a narrative like we have with the Browns are trying to bury Shador on the depth chart. And while I think Shador should be higher on the depth chart, just as, hold on one second, 78.3% of our viewers that answered our poll on Twitter said Shador Sanders was more impressive. It just, we don't have to use everything. We don't have to grasp at every straw that's there to come after a kid who also, for all things considered, despite some of the criticism I have on him for the pick, for the fumbled handoff, had a solid first preseason game. So
For
we
sure.
need to we got to pump the brakes a little bit, man.
No, I agree with you. The problem is that you're giving media something to talk about. That said, had he said nothing, they probably would have said what a stiff he was to the media, blah, blah. You can't
Right.
win in situations like that. I will say that overall, I think both these kids have held their head really high. I'm a little bummed. We did have something planned for the show that Noah and I,
Just
along with our
just just hold it for later because I feel like you might still have an
Well,
opportunity
let me just
after this game.
explain at least. I won't break the gag of it, but me, Noah, and our friend of the show, Evan, every time it's one of our birthdays, we have this tradition where we buy a gag gift. Normally, some type of clothing. Sometimes things you cannot wear out in public, as Noah knows. And they got me something that would have been so perfect for today, and I intended to wear it today and completely forgot it. But I won't ruin the surprise. We will get to that. You jumped ahead a little bit. Before we talk quarterback battle, I do want to touch on some of the moves that the Browns are making because they're building a team of
Wait.
players.
Wait. Are we done with the preseason game completely then? Because we haven't even talked about like any of the other players. We just
No,
talked
no,
Dillon
we
Gabriel.
can talk more. Go on. I mean, there's only so much to talk about in a preseason game, especially game
That's
number 2. But go on.
that's totally fair, but I think there's a couple headlines here that we should hit on. And that, in my opinion, is one, first of all, did it not jump out to you that DeJuan Jones played in this game?
It did. Um, Big man, if he could stay healthy, man, I have not given up on him. I know
So it
he
raises a
moves like
red
a slow moving train, but
it raises a red flag for me, Eric,
in that,
that he is supposed to be the starting left tackle of this roster. And unlike all the other starters, they had him play well into the second quarter. Was it one of those things where Kevin Stefanski was like, I simply just didn't see enough out of him? I don't know. He came into his own and had a fine game. So hopefully it's, a sign of things to come. But there's also been heat issues with him all camp. I mean, I've seen the guy, I went to camp twice. I saw him puke twice with the heat. Getting used to his new body with less weight and moving
he,
around and
he won't
being
have to deal
faster.
with that long.
Why do you say that? Oh, well, because
It's
gonna be
cold. If we're in Cleveland, yeah. I mean,
Well,
he's
with
got
how
like
the
a month
weather
of
has been,
football.
how the weather has been lately, we have moved towards a direction where it could be November by the time it's cold for that guy. The other thing I wanted to point out is we've talked a lot about wide receiver. I know you're going to move us to wide receiver. So this is a good
I
one
wasn't,
for,
but go on.
okay, maybe you were going to move to running back, but
I
I want to
was.
talk receiver real quick, and I want to talk about Deontay Johnson
Hmm.
because I think me and you both had some decent hopes if he could keep his head on straight, and he has been horrible in both preseason games so far. And I don't
Yeah.
know where he fits on this roster, especially with the acquisition of Isaiah Bond, which we'll get into in a second, as well as some of these younger receivers doing really well in camp and making a name for themselves on special team, justifying that back end of the receiver room rotation. It's just, I don't know if this guy's going to stick here.
I think, I mean, that's the benefit, obviously, of signing him for the vet minimum with his issues. But when you look at a guy like Caden Davis, for example, that is the exact opposite, that's doing everything he can to get a spot. Um, it's an interesting, yeah, it's interesting. I thought he would light it up because we've seen flashes of that, and he really hasn't, as you alluded to. Um, there were like 8 different receivers, I think it was, that caught passes from Gabriel, though. So they're really trying everyone out there. Thrash had a couple good ones, if I remember correctly. Um, they're really trying everyone out there because it is one of the weaker spots on the team.
Right. And I think Thrash has a spot here. He was a 4th or 5th round draft pick last year. You're talking about KJ Henry. You're talking, well, no, not KJ Henry. KJ Henry's the guy that had the interception, the pick 6 on Dorian Thompson Robertson, the D tackle. Caden
Ga-
Davis was what I meant to say.
Yeah,
There,
Davis Gage.
Ga-
What's his name? Starts
Gage.
with an L.
I
You know who I'm talking about.
It doesn't matter because he's not going to probably be on the roster anyway.
I
But
don't know, man.
there's
He's got
so
big
many
display
there's
explosiveness.
there's so many different things going on with this roster right now that I just don't see it working out for Deontay Johnson, which sucks for him because his career has gone down the tube. But hey, let the cream rise to the top. You know what I mean?
I agree with you there. Let's switch to running back real quick since you just kind of took over there for a sec. What do you think of Pierre Strong? He had a big run. He had like a 54-yard run. He doesn't excite me, though, I got to say.
He doesn't
Shout out
excite
Amani
me.
Marshall with his first touchdown, by the way.
Amani Marshall excites me. Pierre Strong
Yeah,
doesn't. We've seen
that's
him
how
in
I
the
feel.
regular season in limited roles at this point, and it just he doesn't do it for me. It's great that he's looked good in the preseason, but when we're talking about Amani Marshall stepping up, we're talking about Judkins potentially coming back at some point. We're talking about, of course, our Tennessee, our young back coming in, who still has played very limited minutes for
Hmm.
us in the preseason. I'll be very curious to see what he looks like in the third game, which is more like a dress rehearsal. And of course, I'm referring to Dylan Sampson. It'll be interesting, but Pierre Strong doesn't do it for me. I could care less if he's even on the 53 man. What about you, E?
No, I agree with you completely, and that's why I brought it up because beyond that big run, um, he doesn't do it for me. He doesn't excite me, and like you said, we've seen him in that role before, and he's not the guy that's going to give you what you need in a or B role, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Defensively, they once again look good. I mentioned it off the rip. You mentioned KJ Henry getting the pick 6. Um,
Yes.
Keenan Isaac looked good. Quieter, but he had 2 tackles, pass breakup, a couple other guys. But we talked about the practice with Myles Garrett and Isaiah McGuire. They were just ripping through that Eagles O line, which is interesting to note.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. And it's awesome to see that this defense has a really good chance of returning to or even maybe exceeding, dare I say it, the 2023 form. I'm not getting my hopes too high. There's no reason for me to have my hopes high at this point, but the defense has done everything as advertised. Cam Mitchell is the only question mark to me at that slot corner role, of course, with the injuries that have happened in the secondary. But again, let's see what happens. Let the cream rise to the top. And I think this defense, bar none, is going to be fantastic this year.
It's preseason, it doesn't mean a lot, but when I can throw out stats like 88 total yards, 55 passing yards, and 33 rushing yards, that's what we held Philly to. That's
Yeah.
kind of insane in 4 quarters of football, preseason or not.
Yeah, they look good. I don't always like to put stock in a preseason. I always have the PTSD flashbacks of the year we went 4-0 in the preseason and then 0-16 with Deshaun
Uh
Kaiser.
huh.
So I don't like to put too much stock into it, but compared to last preseason, at least we have good signs. That's all I'm going to say.
The Browns have some new signings. Guy still out there floating They're really building a team, though, of players that either have been charged with crimes or there have been talks of being charged with crimes. I'm referring, of course, to Isaiah Bond, who we just signed. It means two things. Number one, you mentioned it, we're not done at wide receiver because obviously we felt the need to add a guy. Remind me, did somebody on the show say that?
Yes, I owe you dumplings. You
That's right.
were correct. Yes,
We
I. To be
check.
fair, with Isaiah Bond, I feel like it's almost a caveat. I would never do that. I'm a man of my word. I made the bet, but a guy who is supposed to go in the second or third round, signing to your team right away as soon as charges get dropped, and if you've read some of the case and some of those text messages, that's all I'm gonna say on that one. Uh,
Cleared of
it,
charges.
he is cleared of charges. He was what
No
was it?
suspension expected.
No suspension expected as well. He also had this letter come out as soon as the charges were dropped, saying he was going to the Cleveland Browns, which to me I almost thought was a meme at that point, just because of like the Deshaun Watson. Like I literally went up and fact checked that it was actually his Twitter account that posted this, because I was just like, there's no way it was that quick. It was comically quick how quick that announcement came out.
Which, speaking of, can I just have a quick PSA for athletes that maybe have gotten in trouble or, just escaped trouble and then are signing with a team? Do me a favor. When you have the long ass letter, I'm not going to read that. Put a TLDR at the end because that's a lot to say that you're going to Cleveland. You're excited, blah, blah, blah. We've seen this before. Another guy, though, Quinshon Judkins, it came out that he will not be charged as well. I'm guessing he's going to be facing some civil charges. We'll see what happens there. Interesting to note, though, that the formal charges, they're not moving forward. Prosecutors apparently declined to move forward, in part because there was video that came out, from what I understood, that showed the woman without like bruises or whatever around the time of the incident. There's some questioning on time. There's a lot floating around the internet. Of course, I'm not going to say that that's facts, but he's still out there. The Browns and Quinshon cannot come to an agreement over the contract, notably over guaranteed money. You and I were talking about this a little bit earlier today. Quinshon, of course, wants a guaranteed contract. The Browns do not. They still feel like a suspension is looming, in part because he had admitted to striking the woman, regardless of what's moving forward with criminal charges that are not moving forward. What's your take here? Does that deal get done soon? Is he going to hold out? What's your feeling here?
Yeah, let me give some clarity real quick on the criminal stuff based off of what I've read and listened to, and then I'll go into my take about what's going on with the contract. First things first, all of the documents are, of course, out. The reason why these charges got dropped is because there's hotel CTV footage of them checking in. I believe it was a Ritz-Carlton, where you could not see any visible bruising on the female. She did take pictures on her own phone of some bruising that is timestamped, but because of the insignificant matchup and there's no like third party person that said, oh, she had these bruises at this time, the state is not moving forward with it. Quinshon, however, in his statement, basically went at the angle of, yes, I struck her, but in self defense. I'm not, again, ever going to be the person to make a judgment about any type of thing of this. I'm here to talk about football. So let's move on to football. I just wanted to give clarity on that whole situation for a second. Do I think the
Well,
contract gets...
I
Go
think
ahead.
I will just let me interject real quick because I know we're a sports show, but I do think these things matter, especially with the history of the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. Obviously, that signing was a little controversial, and it didn't work out on field, but it was controversial because of the off field. I do think these things matter. I'm not saying that there should be a stand here or a stand there. I'm a big
Right.
believer in letting the facts speak for themselves. But I think it's important that we note these things because they do affect the sports world and the team.
Yeah, and I mean, in my own personal opinion, too, it's absolutely frustrating to have so many different players that we could list out that have had issues like this, and then bringing another one in, whether the Isaiah Bond thing happened or not. Just again, not my judgment to make, but my personal opinion to report on and talk about, I guess. To get into Judkins' contract, though, do I think something will happen soon? I think something should happen soon, whether that be Judkins just gives in and signs a contract of some sort, because at this point, we are at a point in the time where you need to show up and play,
Yeah.
or else you're going to have zero value in this league no matter what. Holding out
Yeah.
this close to the regular season does nothing for him. But at the same time, you go look at Isaiah Bond, who just signed with the team and he got fully guaranteed money. Make
Yeah.
it make sense. Eric, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the Steelers had a running back, obviously that held out as well. Different situation, and it was all about money, but that didn't work out too well for them. I'm referring, of course, to Le'Veon Bell. My point being, Quinshawn hasn't even made the league yet. I don't know what he's holding out for exactly, because it's unlikely that he's going to get it. I do think that the Browns should structure a contract, and I don't know, maybe he's not willing to sign this either, where they do fully guarantee him money so long as he plays. If he's suspended, then those guarantees go away. I feel like there should be some middle ground here. I think the Browns feel like, because of what happened off field, they're able to squeeze him a little bit more than they might do so if he just came to camp and everything was hunky-dory, which feels a little shitty, but that's football. That's business.
It's also the typical NFL versus NFLPA thing that you see happen in these types of situations, unfortunately. A lot of players that were drafted, actually the player right in front of him and the player right behind him, were signed to fully guaranteed contracts, aka not that void clause like you're talking about, Eric.
Right. No, I get it, but,
And
you know,
that wasn't a shot. I didn't mean that as a
those
shot.
guys aren't facing suspension either. Well, Deshaun was, I guess, if you can look at that contract.
Right.
I do want to touch real quick, because I know we want to get out of here. Before we move to the QB battle, though, there was some breaking news that one Bengal star, speaking of contract issues, that the Browns are interested in. I'm talking, of course, Hendricks. What is your thought there? I mean, this is pie in the sky, but
Yeah, I think that this is a non-story. At the end of the day, the Browns and the Bengals have never traded with each other officially in any capacity in the NFL ever. An interdivisional trade would at least net.
Hendrickson, by the way, I said Hendricks, but Hendrickson.
No, you're good. An interdivisional trade would net crazy amounts of return in capital or whatnot compared to what a normal trade would look like. It's never going to happen. It's interesting to talk about or think about that the Browns are moving in a direction potentially where they want to add a 30-year-old defensive end, meaning that they think they're closer to that win now window yet again for whatever reason. But other than that, it's not going to happen. As fun as it would be to be like, oh, look at our broke little brother down there in Cincinnati. They just traded us their player because they couldn't sign him. I know there's more clarity and validity and different levels to that, but that's going to be the take that many fans run with in terms of that if it were to have happened.
For the record, I think he'll end up somewhere like Detroit or maybe even Buffalo. Raiders are probably on the list. But I will say, would you not give up one of our first rounders next year for him?
No, I wouldn't. Not a 30-year-old player. No,
Just
we've
because
lost
we're not in a win now.
Yeah, and
window.
we're so far out of having first round talent on this. Like, regardless of if you use those 2 first round picks to trade up for a quarterback, like many think is going to happen, or you use those 2 first round
Sick
picks
of that narrative.
bring in talent, whatever that looks like, it's not worth it to me in my opinion for what'll be a couple year rental on a guy, and you don't know how long he will output at the level in which he does right now.
35 sacks over the last 2 years. I do want to move us on because we mentioned it, and of course it's been news, but we have an official quarterback depth chart. Do we have a graphic for this?
The depth chart? No, I have the official graphic of who is the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns.
All right, well, your 2025 Cleveland Browns starting quarterback is one Joe Flacco. Stop me if you've heard this before. But Joe, who is turning 68, will be leading your Cleveland Browns. I say that in jest, obviously. I'm really excited for it. I think he still has an arm. If he plays within Stefanski's system, he can play really well. We've seen it before, and I don't think he's had a lot of fall off there. What do you think about the rest of the depth chart, though? Kenny Pickett at 2, Dillon Gabriel at 3, and Shador Sanders rounding us out at 4.
Yeah, I think Flacco at 1 has made the most sense this whole time, especially with Pickett dealing with an injury for most of camp on his hamstring.
Yeah, kind of
So
been a
this is,
given. I mean, not
yeah,
surprised there.
yeah, there's no surprise there. The rest of the depth chart also doesn't surprise me whatsoever at all. And that's because of how it's played out and how much these depth charts, because they are unofficial depth charts, do not matter right now. They can go into the season with an initial 53-man roster of 4 quarterbacks. They did it last year with Snoop Huntley and then cut him. They
Yeah.
could do the same thing this year with the idea of trying to trade one of the 3 quarterbacks in the back end. My money would be on Kenny Pickett because he's the odd man out. You don't want to give up on 2 rookies you just brought in. Dillon Gabriel, to me, I didn't get to say this earlier, but I think looks like the definition of a solid career backup in the NFL. So you don't want to give that up. And we all know the flashes Shador showed in that first game against Carolina.
Give me a
So
range, by the way, like Fitzmagic being the top of the career backup spectrum, and
I think
I
of
don't
Colt
know.
McCoy.
Colt
And maybe
McCoy.
it's
Okay.
because of the commercials of it's time to bring the backup in. I think it's State Farm or something like that. I
Hmm.
think Colt McCoy, and you know, I feel like that isn't even a dig on Dillon Gabriel, because to be one of the best 64 quarterbacks in the world is
A hell of a,
still
yeah, I agree.
a hell of an achievement, especially at his stature, especially at some of the faults in his game that we've talked about at length before on the show. So the depth chart to me doesn't bother me. Um, it's super early. If you thought one of the rookies was going to be starting week 1, you are delusional. I'm
Right.
sorry. That's the
Nor
truth.
do we
It was
want
going to
that. I
be.
mean, let's
No,
develop these guys.
and I've sat here again wearing my Shador t-shirt and said it should be Flacco the first 6 weeks because it's a gauntlet. You don't want to feed Shador or Dillon, for that matter, to the gauntlet that is those first 6 games. Let them develop through those weeks. You get your bye week. You reevaluate the situation then.
Hear me out on something though.
Yep.
Within that time frame, you have a 3rd and 4. Do we not bring Shador in to run an option kind of offense and just switch things
But
up
Shador,
occasionally?
I know the perception, Eric, is that he is a speedster
I'm not
type of
saying he's a
quarterback.
mobile quarterback, but he can move more than
Okay,
Joe
but he can.
Flacco.
Yeah, but they're similar play styles in that of being pocket passers. Like, I
Well,
don't
Shador's
think
way more dual threat. I mean, let's just be honest. Whether he wants to bill himself as that or
Shador's
not.
a true pocket passer,
No,
man.
no, I
That
know,
is
but
his
he can
archetype.
get out of the pocket and move. We've seen it. He had positive rushing yards in that first preseason game. I mean, we're not
Yeah,
just making shit up
15
here.
of them, but you don't 15 of them, but you don't put in a full option offense for him like you would. Dare I even say DTR, even
Hunt,
though he looked horrible in the
thought you were gonna
preseason
say
game,
Huntley,
but
but
he had wheels. Huntley, I mean, sure, I guess, but I don't think he's going to be. I mean, there's no way he's going to be anywhere near this roster. We're just doing a favor to a veteran that
for
helped
sure.
us out in the past. Um, yeah, I don't think so. I think you just let everything rest. You let Joe do the Joe thing, either play his way out of the role or play his way into the playoffs and keep going from there. We'll see. I'm really excited for the season to start, man. I'm ready for some damn Cleveland Browns football.
I hear you because we will know, especially as you said, we have the gauntlet. We will know real soon whether what this team's made of. Week 1
Yeah.
against the Bengals, if we go out and lay an egg, it's pretty indicative of what we can expect the rest of the year. We typically do play the Bengals tough. If we go out and snatch a win, though, I mean, it kind of changes the nexus of our thinking. Oh, well, everyone else is thinking because I've been positive, but our thinking on this season. I agree with you. I can't wait. Speaking of football and not being able to wait, we do have a team that will play sooner than the Browns, and that's the Ohio State University Buckeyes. They had some news as well, and that they have a starting quarterback. Redshirt freshman Julian Sayin gets the nod. This is big news. First of all, I think it's great that Ohio State went a direction. I did think that this would be the case, but I was a little worried of how we went back and forth between 12 Gauge and JT Barrett several years ago. 2017 season when we arguably had the better team than that Natty team, 2016, 2017. But Julian Sayin gets that nod. He has been nothing but phenomenal from high school on. He was that Alabama commit. He left, though he never was technically enrolled, but left because one, Nick Saban is no longer there, and that's what happens when a world-class coach leaves. What do you think of this move? I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see him in action. By the way, other side of the country, former Buckeye quarterback Devin Brown lost out to the freshman at Cal. He, of course, entered the portal, knew he wasn't going to get the job here, was at Cal, and he is not the starting quarterback there either. A lot of news there. But start with the Buckeyes. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not going to go super deep on this one. I've been in the Julian Sayin camp. He's the more talented quarterback. No shade to one. His name's slipping me right now, so I'm not going to. Kineholz, that's right. No shade to Lincoln Kineholz, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the kid can do. He's obviously a highly renowned prospect. He's a question mark to me, so I'm not going to do the Buckeye thing and be like, oh, we're number one. We're number one. We got this kid. I'm excited to see how he plays, especially in an awesome week 1 matchup against Texas. Really excited overall.
By the way, speaking of, and I want to get us out of here, but I did screenshot a post earlier from a Buckeye source, of course. But we were arguing about how Ohio State fans always act like they should be in the conversation. They're one of the top teams. And the thing that I screenshot for you, and I never ended up sending it to you, but it was something along the lines of Ohio State became the first team to be ranked in the top AP poll for 100 times. No other team has come close to that. So when we talk about tradition of excellence, it is there for the record.
For sure it is.
All right, Noah, before we get out of here, we covered some great stuff. I, for one, can't wait to see some more action soon. But do you have anything else to add before we wrap things up?
No, man, I'm looking forward to this preseason game this weekend against the Rams. I don't expect to see a single Rams starter. That's just not what Sean McVay does. He might even leave them at home for all I care.
Right.
I'm excited to see what happens with our dress rehearsal. I'm hoping the rookies are both back and we can see a majority Shador, a majority Dillon Gabriel in this matchup.
Do
Hell,
we get Flacco for a drive?
Yeah, we'll get it for a drive or two. They'll treat it like a dress rehearsal. They always do. We'll get a drive or two. We'll let them loosen it up, feel the game, and then let's be legendary this weekend, man.
All right. One last thing to leave you guys with. Noah and I are working on a fun project. It's going to take quite a while to get to you, but it's a little mashup of sports and some of our other favorite things. I'll just leave that little teaser there. But we're going to be shooting some fun content that we're excited to get out to you. The kind of content that requires like an actual director of photography. And we're kind of going all out on this, but we're going to have something fun to share soon. And I can't wait for that. But for now, thank you for joining us at The Office, sponsored by D&D Meadery. Don't forget to subscribe or hit that download button if you're listening to the audio-only version of our show. All of our socials are the @symbol, The Office CLE. The debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.